Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. I am your host, June Archer. This is the Winner's Circle. My guest today, I am so excited to interview him again. We had a great time the last time he was on the show, and I suspect this time will be no different. Uh, he is the star of Tyler Perry's The Oval as the manipulative Vice President Eli. And this season, our viewers love what he has to offer. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show, Brother Russell Thomas. Russell, how are you,
Hey,
brother?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
I'm excited. You know, it's always a fun time with you. I'm gonna get right into it. Actually, let's not get right into it. How have you been? How was 2023 for you with the rise of what you were doing last season? How was 2023 for you?
2023 was a strange year for me. I lost my father in 2023, so it was a difficult year for a lot of reasons. But being on the show and having that family there was really a huge support for me. So I can't say enough how much of a blessing it's been to be on that show and get to the opportunity to work with all the wonderful cast and crew that are out there. That really helped to support me for 2023.
Let me ask you this. I want to
Yeah,
first, give my condolences
thank you.
on that passing. I know that a father is a very important figure for a young man along his journey, or a father figure.
Yeah.
For you, Russell, what was the thing that holds you since your father has passed away? That is a key to success, or a gem that he shared with you, or a word of inspiration that you could share with those who are watching or listening.
Yeah, a friend of mine the other night was talking to me about this, and he said that when you lose someone, a part of them lives on in you. And for me, the part of my dad that lives on in me is his discipline and his work ethic. And so when I have the opportunity to work on a show like this, and it is a lot of work. When we're on set, we're cranking. And I know that when it's difficult for me and I feel tired, it's my dad's strength that I feel that comes and supports me in those moments. And so I feel him there with me in those moments.
Now, I want to take you back to when you had a dream. One of the things I'm
Yeah.
trying to instill in people for 2024 is going back to that inner kid who had dreams, goals, and aspirations. You chose to choose two professions that traditionally a parent would say, "Son, I don't know if playing football is going to be the thing. Son, I don't know if acting is the thing." You were a Pac-10 athlete playing
Sure.
football. You are an actor. What do you say to that person who is struggling to live out their dreams, or reimagine what it looks like years later down the line as they are going into retirement, have empty nest syndrome getting ready to be placed upon them, that is trying to say, I don't know what I want for the rest of my life. Like, what do you say to that person? Like, what were the things that you were told when you were dreaming
Yeah.
that allowed you to be steadfast in trying to realize those dreams in terms of playing football, becoming an actor?
I feel like it really boils down to connecting with the reason that you want to do those things. And for me, it was a passion associated with the act of playing football and the act of uh, visual storytelling. So specifically for acting, I grew up. I'm an only child, so I watched a lot of TV shows and stuff like that as a kid, and in a lot of ways, those were like my sources of entertainment growing up. So I always loved watching shows. Like my grandmother had this huge library of VHS movies, and whenever I went to visit her, I was excited because I'd pick out which movies I want to see. I want to see Back to the Future, and then I want to see Beverly Hills Cop, and I'd line them up so I could put them on when I got over there. And so when I think about the struggles that I went through to have the career that I have now in acting, I recognize that it was my passion for that act of consuming the art that made me that gave me the strength to keep pursuing it, because I knew that that was a worthy goal for me, and I knew the way that I was built, that that would keep me motivated during the difficult times, which there were plenty. You know, there's always a lot more no's than there are yeses in this industry.
Absolutely.
Even for
Absolutely.
everyone at the top, there's always a lot more no's than there are yeses. So you have to find a way to be resilient in the face of rejection.
What does that resiliency look like for you when you go out on audition after audition, when you're getting no's? Like, what is
Yeah,
that frame of mind? Like, talk to those who are trying to do those things in any industry, right? If you're playing sports, you may not make the team. If you're acting, you may not get that role. If you're trying to get into the C-suite, you may not get that job. For
yeah.
you, from a mental health perspective, how do you navigate those waters?
For me specifically, I would say that it comes down to a fair amount of self-awareness and recognizing the way that I would get attached to a role. You know, specifically in the case of an audition, um, you have to have a certain amount of attachment to that role in order to deliver your best work, but you have to be able to release that attachment once you've done it, and recognize that in the beginning, after you do an audition, you start to picture yourself in the role and you start to imagine all the things that are going to happen after that. And you have to be willing to let go of those, because those are the things that are going to give you energy while you're doing the audition. But
Right.
those are also the things that are going to haunt you afterwards. And it's really going to make the rejection that you might face even more difficult to overcome. And so I found that there are ways to kind of release some of that energy afterwards, and the ways that you can focus on the specific task at hand while keeping the larger goals, you know, in view, but without hanging too much on their success or failure for your own self-worth, which is not an easy task to do.
It's,
It's
it's,
tricky.
it is not. Some
Yeah.
fumble and some
No.
struggle with that. So that's why I had to ask you, as you were thumbing through your grandmother's collection of
Yeah.
movies, who were some of your mentors, so to speak, or who did you look up to that you're like, I have to watch Eddie Murphy as an example. I had to watch, Nick Nolte. Like, who were the ones that you look to say, I like watching this person. I like how they transform, how they bring the role to life. Who were some of your mentors in that regard?
Yeah, I think you got one right off the bat there. It was Eddie Murphy. I would watch Beverly Hills Cop all the time, even as a little kid, which is kind of funny.
Which
But but it was just such a good movie, and one of my favorites, and actually a tradition that I have with my dad, is we would watch Trading Places every year, kind of around Christmas time.
classic
Yeah,
movie that never gets
exactly.
old.
It doesn't get old ever. And so, in a way, I would say Eddie Murphy is definitely a big one on that list for my childhood. His movies really have such genius to them, but also the performances are always so fun. So that's definitely a big one for me. And then really, there's a handful of movies. I don't know if I really think about it in terms of a mentor or somebody I look up to, but performances and stories that I connect to. So I was like a big Star Wars fan growing up, and I probably watched those kind of like once a week during summers when I was in grade school, kind of thing. So just like those kind of worlds I could really kind of dive into and get nerdy about and stuff like that. So those were the things that I connected to as a kid.
Now, as an only child, who did you look to? Did you have cousins that were a part of your village that urged you to continue to follow your dreams, who fueled your passion, who supported you? Like, who was in your winner circle, Russell?
Yeah, I have two cousins that I kind of grew up with that were like older sisters to me, and we went to the same grade school, junior high, and high school, so we were around each other a lot. And I was probably like the annoying little brother that they kind of kept kicking out all the time. But even to this day, we still have a great relationship, and I I look at them more like sisters than cousins, and their kids are kind of like my niece and nephews. So they were definitely there along the way, and they would always offer me support in the way kind of a big sister would, which is to make sure I don't get too big of a head whenever I have any good successes, and make sure I don't hit the ground too hard when I'm having failures. So they were right there with me all along the way.
I like how you said it, not hitting the ground too hard, because those
Yeah,
things will come. You will experience failure. You will experience rejection. You will get a
yeah.
no. Doors will close. So it is very important to have those individuals. If you had to say something to your cousins
Mhm.
today, what would you tell them in terms of the support that they had given?
Man, it's so much love and so much gratitude for being there for me all the time. You know, and in ways big and little. I think sometimes we look at support as these large gestures, and sometimes we fail to recognize just the little ways where it could just be a little phone call or a text message, and you might not even get into the real meat of the struggle that you're going through, but just to know that somebody's out there and listening and kind of watching out for you and advocating for you, and cheering you on, and sharing in your excitement, and being there as someone you can kind of go to when things aren't working out so well, and they'll have the right words of wisdom for you to keep you moving. So yeah, it's just a sense of gratitude for their presence in my life.
I appreciate that. So, cousins, if you're watching, we
Yeah.
thank you tremendously. Uh, 2023 was interesting. Um, you mentioned losing your dad, but
Yeah.
also you went through what a lot of writers and actors had to go through in terms of the strike.
Yeah.
Do you feel like we are in a better place now after those negotiations? And what do you look forward to moving forward now that we've gone past that hurdle as of right now?
Yeah, that was definitely another another burden to carry for 2023. The strike was difficult. I know a lot of people, a lot of friends were really struggling. It was difficult creatively because even if you're not working on something, you would usually have a pretty steady stream of auditions, so you at least have a chance to get on something, or
Right.
you can at least have that audition as your creative outlet kind of thing. And there was none of that. So it made it very difficult to feel like you were still connected to the industry. And with acting, you kind of need to be out there doing it. I always compare and contrast acting with other art forms. Singing, you can kind of just go and sing in the car. You can kind of always work on your singing. If you play guitar, you can just play guitar by yourself. You don't need to have a crowd there. But when you're acting, you need to have somebody to act with, and you need to be in the format of film set. So without those things, you start to feel disconnected from the art form. So that was definitely a challenge, and whether it was worth it, I have to hope that it was. I have to believe that it was worth it. Otherwise, why would we go through all that? I think time will tell if it was. I foresee that there are a lot of interesting challenges ahead. I feel like a big part of the strike was around the introduction of technologies in and around AI that are going to really have an effect on not just film and television, but really industries across the board. I can imagine that musicians would be very nervous right now when it comes to the implications of AI in music. I imagine lawyers might have something to worry about, and accountants might have something to worry about. So it's not just film and television, but I feel like we were the first ones to kind of have this public debate, which I feel like is going to continue to happen. And so I guess in a way, that's probably the easiest sort of silver lining, or sort of flagpole to put out in front of us to say that we've at least started this conversation in this one narrow section of the economy that is going to have to be had by everyone. And I imagine this will come up to some degree in the 24 election, but trying to figure out what it means to what the value of work is, what the value of human effort, ingenuity, and creativity is in the economy going forward, and what that means for how the economy is supposed to function. So that it's a kind of convoluted way of answering the question, but I think that's going to be the biggest sort of legacy of the strike.
No, it's a great way to answer the question. We don't know, and
Yeah,
that's part of the excitement, the unknown, but also making sure that it's this industry is as well as others is firm, fair, and consistent
right, right,
across the board for
right.
creatives and talent. You have the privilege of working with Tyler Perry during this strike. You obviously you have a community around you. How was the camaraderie? How was the energy? Were you guys lifting each other up? Did everyone go in their silos? What how was that and how was he? Because he's said to be, very great with his people. Like how was that energy during the strike when you guys, were not working?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, there were large spans of time where you might not have connected with people just because you kind of get into a rhythm of like when you're working with somebody, you see them all the time and you're in constant communication, and these relationships kind of come together and go apart. During the strike, there was less of that, but you never felt like you were alone. Like you felt like you could reach out to people and kind of connect with them. It just, there wasn't that sort of natural gravity that brought people together, which work does. But as far as Tyler Perry's commitment, I always felt like he supported the cause, and I always felt like he was concerned about the well-being of his actors and his crew. And in the same way as during the pandemic, when he was really one of the first, crews to kind of get
Yeah,
up and running again, when I first went out to Atlanta during that time, it kind of felt like Tyler Perry was keeping Atlanta running in a way. And so that same kind of support and generous nature is what I sensed during the strike as well. And then as far as just sort of the local community, there you could still kind of get into some acting classes and connect with people on that level, and so you're still being creative, and just in the act of doing that, you feel supported and energized in the industry, which is, or in that artistic way that definitely was a necessary component of being able to survive the crazy strike.
and it's been great to interview you virtually, but I'm looking forward to the days when we could do it in person as we are
Yeah,
moving the file a little bit more.
yeah.
You are an amazing spirit, Brother Thomas. Let's dive into Vice President Eli and what's going on. New season, new things happening. People are loving you. How has this, I want to say meteoric rise, like, but
Yeah,
how has this energy of what is going on with you as a vice president affected you in all aspects of your life and also your career?
sure. Personally, it's been a dream come true in so many ways, and it's so fun to be able to contribute to a story that really the fans connect with and love so much. And so really in any way that I can feel like I am adding to that story just is such a blessing for me. And so when I see that the fans are really reacting online to the drama that Eli's getting himself into, it really makes me excited to see how future events will definitely stoke those fires. Yeah, that personally, it's been fun. And then career wise, obviously, this is a huge jump for anybody. Anybody that's in this industry would love to have a role like this. And it's fun to kind of play like a good guy, bad guy kind of character, and you never know which direction you're going. And it was on a personal level. I can remember the first time my character did something, because when Eli was introduced, he was definitely introduced as this very nice, wholesome guy. He was going to be the good guy to fix everything. And then there was this one moment where he started to have a little makeout session with the first lady, and after that episode had aired, I went to visit my mom, and she wouldn't let me in the house. And it took about 10
Your mom
minutes
was like,
before I
"How
just,
could you? How
yeah, yeah,
could you?
exactly. How
I
could you?
raised you
I can't look
better."
at you right now. Yeah. And so on a personal level, it's been fun to experience that, just in that dynamic between me and my mom, because she doesn't always approve of Eli's behavior.
And it seems like Eli is towing the line on a lot of things. With this arc, what what do you hope, without giving too much away, what do you hope for Eli between now and the end of the season?
Sure. Eli finds himself in a very tricky position because technically he's the president. He's been sworn in at the beginning of the season, and that was because the president, Hunter, is incapacitated, which makes him the president.
Right.
But now Hunter isn't incapacitated. And I think from Eli's perspective, he's already been doing all the work because Hunter doesn't do anything. He's just busy, satisfying his own carnal needs. And Eli feels like he's better suited to do the job. And even if he's also doing some things that aren't necessarily kosher,
Unsavory.
exactly, but he's at least doing the job the right way that needs to be done. And therefore, I feel like Eli's justified in his claim to the Oval Office. So I feel like as long as Eli is able to continue to make his case and continue to run the country in a way that I feel like is probably better for the country, then it makes it easier to cheer for him.
If there were an ultimate choice in terms of, and I want to give you a top three. Let's talk top
Sure.
three women that would be on the opposite end of you that you'd be like, I would love to play across from this actress because I think that the energy would be so great. Maybe the tension would be so great, but I would love one of these three actresses. Who would those three actresses be? And who would
Sure,
be your
sure.
top, who would be your number one?
Sure. So, the number one, you're gonna get me in trouble with that one. That's tricky. I don't know if I could necessarily put them in order, but I'll say that working with Kayron Moore and Kay Singleton, which are the first and second lady respectively on the Oval, has been such a blast. So I got to include them in my list, even
Okay.
though, so you kind of put it in a way where like, who would you like to work with? And I already get to work with them. So that's already like I've already achieved most of the dream roles right there.
I got to get Kay on the
But
show then. I got to.
yeah, yeah,
I got to get her top three.
it's really fun because when I first met her, they had already done a couple seasons of the show, and the first lady is tough. The first lady is very tough, and so I was very nervous to meet her because I
Wow.
was expecting that.
Right.
And Karen is just really sweet and really generous with her time and her energy. So it was such a like shock to meet her. Like, wait, you're like this on TV, and I know it's acting. I know it's not real, but it's just funny to see that how big that contrast is. But to answer your question a little bit more honestly, I would put Issa Rae up there on that list.
Mm, that's a
I
good one.
really, yeah, she is so talented. I'm always impressed by people that have the multi hyphenates.
Yeah.
So obviously Tyler Perry, acting, writing, directing, producing, everything. I've seen him move furniture. I've seen him grab cameras. He does everything. That's impressive to me. And Issa Rae is another one of those where she's writing, she's acting, she's producing, and I feel like I would gain so much from just being on set with her, just seeing how she operates. And obviously it would be a blessing to share the stage with her, but just being around those kind of people I always find very inspiring.
Mm, mm. All right, give me one more because you had two in the first one, but those
Yep,
you're
yep.
already working with those. So and we
Yeah,
got
yeah.
Issa Rae. Give me a third one.
Let me see. This could be a good one.
Give us a juicy one. Come on.
Yeah, yeah. So somebody that I think would be, oh, that's a tough one. Let me think about this one for a second since I only have one left. Let me think.
I mean, you know, you got the Nia Longs out there, you got the Regina
Yeah.
Halls, you got the Regina Kings, you got, of course, the Halle Berrys out there.
That's kind of where I was going right now was Halle Berry, and I'll say why. I'll say why. I happen so back in the day I worked at a restaurant and she came in and I wasn't her server, but I got to drop off a drink for her, and she was so charming and she really just illuminated that whole day for me. And so I'm imagining that getting the opportunity to share the stage with her would be an amazing experience. Maybe it wouldn't be like the most like you were talking about the tension and all of that. I think I would be just so excited just to be in that space with her. And hopefully I'd be able to, actually do the role if I had the opportunity. But yeah, I've always been an admirer of Halle Berry, and that would be a fun experience.
Fair enough. She
Yeah,
is one of my favorites as well. Are you
yeah,
are you are you getting used to being recognizable now? Like, and how was that feeling?
yeah. It's happened a little bit, and it happens when you're kind of least expecting it, so it always kind of comes as a surprise. And I will find that sometimes you'll kind of get a second look, and you're not sure, like, are you seeing it because you saw me in the show, or you're just kind of taking a second look? I don't know. But it's fun, because it's kind of rewarding in a way that makes you feel like you're doing the right thing. Makes you feel like you're on the right path if people are recognizing your work and are interacting in that way. So it just serves as another form of motivation to keep working hard and keep trying to deliver. Yeah,
I want to fast forward, Russell, before I let you go.
sure.
I want to go to December 2024,
Mm.
and I want you to reverse engineer what this year looks like for you. What is it that you would like to accomplish personally and professionally that in December 2024 that you could kick your feet up when that ball drops and said, you know what? I'm glad I did X, Y, and Z before 2025.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, First and foremost would be working more, get another season in on the Oval. We have so much fun working on this show, and it's a very intense production process. But in that intensity, there's so much energy and joy that I love that. And then on top of that, I have some sneaky dreams of helping to produce a feature film. So if I could get that under my belt, that would be fun as well. Yeah, those are kind of my two big goals for this year. And then on top of that is really just enjoying life and making sure that I take the time to appreciate those around me and making sure that I am cultivating the community that I find myself in. I think that's really important. And there are times where you get caught up in the rat race, as it were, and you can neglect the relationships that are important. And those relationships aren't always associated to work, but just in life in general. And so making sure that I'm um, building new connections, but also maintaining and cultivating the connections that I've had for a long time and really cherish.
I love it. If I could be of help, please, you already know how we
Yeah,
do it.
yeah, I appreciate
We,
that,
we,
man.
we,
Thank you.
we stay connected.
Yeah,
Also, I know your dad is looking down. I know he's proud. I know your mom is proud. Mom, be proud of this young man. You have done an amazing job. Cousins, continue to support this young
yes,
man. If you
yes.
are watching Tyler Perry's The Oval Office, please tune in, watch Eli, our vice president, do the curly shuffle, toe the
Yeah.
line, one foot in the tub and the other on the
Yeah,
banana peel, and
yeah.
just see how this season plays out. Russell, I'm so proud of you. I love you, my
Thank you.
friend. Keep doing what you're doing.
Much love,
Where can
homie.
we
Thank
like
you.
you? Where can we follow you? And how can we stay connected?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram, Russell underscore Thomas underscore on IG. So that's really my biggest presence in social media. And obviously, Tyler Perry's The Oval, Tuesday nights, 9 o'clock.
You heard it here. Like he said, put in the work. Your
Yeah.
village will support you, and they will make sure if you do hit the ground, it is not such an incredible impact because they will be there to lift you up. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Russell Thomas. He plays Eli, the vice president on Halle Berry's The Oval Office. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. I'm your host,
Yes.
June Archer. This is the Winner Circle. Thank you so much. And please don't ever forget, tell somebody you love them. It may be the last opportunity you have to
Yeah.
do so. And we
Yeah.
love you. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Peace.
Thank you. Thank you.